Hello, hello, hello. I'm Ken Dashow from Q1043, New York's classic rock station. Thank you so much for keeping classic rock alive and well, and especially thank you for Sunday morning's Breakfast of the Beatles. I can't thank you enough for turning on the next generation and the next generation onto this music. We have a lot of first-timers here. Welcome to our craze Beatle family that we do this every year. I was shocked when Mark Lapidus told me this is my 18th year hosting. Hell, he's been doing it for 44 years, so I got a lot of catching up to do. And what we try to always do is talk about the music and here and now and why these guys changed the world. And a dear friend of mine who's from Liverpool, who's friends with the Beatles, who they were so turned on by him, they suggested their manager, Brian Epstein, sign him. Said, you know what, everybody talks about the Beatles suddenly coming out of nowhere, like they appeared magically out of the sky. But there was a lot of music that we were listening to that led up to the Beatles becoming the Beatles as we know it. I want to hold your hand. Please, please be twisted and shout. Please welcome back to the Fest For Beatles Fans, my dear friend, from Liverpool, Mr. Billy J. Kramer. That song, one of his latest, To Liverpool With Love, one of my favorites in the world. Billy's going to be outside signing copies of a new album that we put together, because Billy and I have been cooking this up, and we were talking about music a lot, where it all came from, and I said, rather than just talking about it, let's play it. So this is not going to be a lecture so much as a shared mini concert of all the songs. My hope is, by the time we get to the end, you'll see the steps that music took to get us here to the boys and to this ballroom. Great idea, Billy. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Ken. How are you?
Who do we have with us?
This is my friend Larry Fitzgerald.
Hey, Larry. Thanks for joining us. Larry Fitzgerald. Liverpool, a little north in Docktown, big on shipping. Got the hell bombed out of it during World War II. You had 7 kids in your family?
7 kids, yeah, 3 boys.
Rational, it's tough. Life is a hard scrabble, black and white kind of life, and music and entertainment is the thing you hold on to dearly to try to lift yourself up. Remember, they got a lot worse than we did, that's for sure. And like Billy said, the first British solo singer to hit the UK singles chart was a gal named Lita Rosa. What was her song, Billy?
How much is that dog in the window? The one with the waggly tail. How much is that dog in the window? I do hope that dog is for sale.
Perfect. So, we start there and think about how innocent a time it was. We've got Perry Como and Patti Page, and here's Lita Rosa. And there's a song by a guy, I didn't know this gentleman, Frankie Vaughan. There was a fellow DJ who worked at NWA named Jim Lowe, who had a hit with it here in America. But the British hit by Frankie Vaughan that kind of made a name for himself and established him there and here. Billy, give us a little Frankie Vaughan.
Yeah, you want to play Frankie?
Yeah, play first.
Okay. There's an old piano and it's playing hot
the Royal Command performance. That's a big deal, huh? He makes it to the Royal Show.
He did the Royal Command performance, actually. And believe it or not, he just did this like weird kick, and he wore a bowler hat, a big tall hat, and he had a cane. And the royal family loved him, and his record went to #1, and he became a household name. And he was a great guy. I remember as a teenager, he visited Liverpool and went around to all the clubs and did a spots for everybody. And, the guy was the first drummer in my band, Tony Sanders, when I first started actually played drums.
Did you ever meet him?
I did meet him. He was a very nice man.
He said to you once you were really impressed by his professionalism.
Well, he was very professional, yes. Yeah.
So much so in the #1 hit that he gets to a movie with Marilyn Monroe, Let's Make Love. Maybe not the greatest movie, but I'm sorry, if you're a British singer, you get a movie with Marilyn Monroe, you're doing okay.
That's pretty good. It's not really good. You know, I mean, Liverpool then was basically known again for comedians. You know, Arthur Askey, Ted Rake, people he don't know about.
You have to understand also that in England, the difference between North and South. You know, Londoners just thought of the northern people in Liverpool and the North as, you know, it's a joke. They're chimney sweeps, they're dock workers. You know, they're not worthy of serious consideration. And that goes all the way through the storyline to why Brian has such trouble trying to get the Beatles signed into London, and just shoving it into the world, realizing that the music that's coming out of Liverpool is actually going to change the world. And if the people in London were smart, forget whether you like it or detest it, all the money is going to be from you and the Beatles and Jerry the Pacemakers, and that was coming. And they just didn't want to hear it. They didn't, and fair to say, they just didn't want to know about it.
No, they didn't want to know. And the thing that amazed me was that Decca Records signed Brian Paul and Tremors. And, you know, I know them and they're nice guys,
But they ain't the Beatles.
But they're not the Beatles. And, you know, we all know that. I'd hate to have been the guy who took the rap for that, you know.
Yes.
But it was Dick Rowe, actually, you know. And, you know, obviously, I think it was a good thing. You know, it was a good thing because I don't think the Beatles would have been as good if they had been produced by George Martin.
It still feels like it came about exactly the way it was the right label. George Martin, had to be George Martin, had to be, you know, Norman Smith and then Jeff Emmerich. You know, it had to be that series of people. You know, Andrew Lou Goldham, who had worked with Brian Epstein, always said, I always think of Dick Rowe as the man who signed the Rolling Stones. Well, if you're not thrown out, you better damn well get the next rock band that walks in the door and not screw it up twice. So,
absolutely.
I understand that. There was one of the things that Paul McCartney has talked about is because Liverpool was a dock town. The Liverpool, you know, at the docks, and the ships coming in. They're right across from Dublin, Northern Ireland. It's a real seafaring town. And then a lot of the music they got were coming in off the ships.
Yes.
Right? The sailors were bringing records and singing songs.
Yes, actually, you know, you hear the steamer. There used to be what was called the Cunard line. We used to sail back and forth to New York. My uncle sailed for the Cunard line. And there was a guy, funny enough, called Michael Holiday, who was he was a singer. And funny enough, his buddies talked him into entering a competition at Radio City, which he won. And he ended up going back to England. But he used to buy all the records, and he used to actually sell them to Elvis Costello's mother. And she was the one who used to distribute them around Liverpool.
Elvis Costello's mom, you know, he was a big part of Liverpool scene. The family was Declan McManus. Tell the story about what Elvis told us.
Well, he said that first concert he ever went to was me, and he said the girls screamed so loud it gave me a headache and I had to leave.
He is the biggest Beatles fan, Billy J fan. He lives. We talked about it one night. He said he goes, every time I go back and listen to the early British Invasion records. He listens to you or the Beatles. He said, it makes me think I don't want to record another album because I still can't touch it.
Well, that's
But you know, that comes from a guy who's had one of the greatest careers we'll ever know.
sure.
But that's when he hears it. Billy, what of these artists that we talked about? You know, Frankie Vaughan, Vita Rosa, Michael Holiday. What year is this? Is this late 50s? Is
Is it
this
late 50s? Yes, late 50s.
So, what first gets you interested in music? How does music come into your house?
And it became, there was a skiffle craze. Suddenly, there was like 30,000 acoustic guitars sold in Great Britain. Britain wasn't known for guitars till this time. And there was like thousands of skiffle groups. I think it was because it was after World War II. And it was cheap, you know, people had an acoustic guitar and a T-chest bass and a washboard. Should we bring them on?
You know what I want to do first? You talked about Christmas time, sitting around the piano.
Yes.
I want, because Paul McCartney always talks about that. He called it a sing-song, that his father would play the piano.
Yes.
Give me a song that would be playing in Billy Ashton's house for Christmas.
I got all my goods and woe. Here I go, singing low. Bye, bye, blackbird. When somebody waits for me, she'll be sweet, so is she. Bye, bye, blackbird.
And the whole family getting drunk and sitting around and singing that.
Everybody in the street would come to the house.
Really?
Yeah.
So if you got a piano, if somebody found a piano.
Well, my father, I don't know where he borrowed the piano from, but all the neighbors helped him push the piano up the street and into the house, and I all got around the piano. We had to sing song.
Awesome.
Great stuff.
Hey, our sound man's there. Can we get some Billy's mic in the monitor? I can't hear his mic. Thank you. So we talk about skiffle. Anybody seen the picture of the Quarrymen playing at the church fete? It's a famous picture of John Lennon at 16 and the Quarrymen. And you notice somebody standing up with like a broomstick and a string on it. And you said to me, you called it a tea chest, and I never understood. I mean, because nobody had money for instruments, right? How much would a guitar cost? 1958, like when it's the Quarrymen.
I don't know. I mean, my first guitar was £3.50.
About $6?
Yeah. But I mean, I think a good one would be, what, $70? But nobody
had $70.
Nobody had $70.
And they certainly didn't have a bass guitar, so you had to make a T-chest bass. And my friend, Billy J. Kramer, in his backyard this week said to me, Ken, I'm going to make one. I said, what are you talking about? He said, made them all my life. That's how we all started. We all, if you wanted to be a band, you wanted a bass, you had to have one. Can we bring up our T-chest bass? Billy just made this. Billy, it's a box?
It's a box, yeah.
And a broom handle?
It was the nearest thing to a T-chest I could find, because, you know, that was, I mean, it's like, it's 50 years ago before, when I made the last one, you know.
Well,
that's
but you still remember how to do it.
I remembered how to do it, yes, and I threw it together.
The other instrument that you needed in order to play skiffle music, because you didn't have a drum kit, are you kidding? If you didn't have money for a good guitar, you certainly didn't have money for a drum kit, but everybody had a washboard. Who said it? Everybody had a washboard for what mom needed for the clothes, and you would steal that. Well, you would borrow it from your mom to do a show. From Modern Drummer magazine, Mr. Billy Amendola. Billy, my dear friend, you heard him on Breakfast with the Beatles. I said to Billy, you have to be standing in the wrong place at the wrong time. So that's the drum kit. Billy, that's one of the first drum kits ever made. It's called Stealing It From Your Mother. Did you ever play one?
I never played one in my life.
This Modern Drummer magazine, Ringo, the Emperor, all that. No. Now you're playing the drum solo. That's the drums. So, you know, the name that keeps coming up when we talk about skiffle music is a man by the name of Lonnie Donegan. Just to explain for those who don't know that name, boys, if you would, a little Lonnie Donegan, Rock Island Line. If you could tune that up a little bit. That's cool. I'm telling you the truth. If Paul was in this room, he'd run up onto this stage, grab this mic from me, grab a guitar, and play it with him. It was such a pull, such a compassion. I think of Mark Knopfler wrote the song "Donegan's Gone." You know, and he was such a powerful figure. What was it, Billy? Why was this Irishman like such a?
I mean, skiffle. Skiffle. Actually, I only found out in recent years originated in America. You know, it was
right.
In the 20s, skiffle was music that they played to make money to pay the rent.
Right.
And Lonnie Donegan was a banjo player in a jazz band, and we recorded a lot of skiffle songs. And what that line was the first one that really took off and started the whole.
And doing songs like Midnight Special, the old
Midnight Special. 15
but it's all that rhythm.
Yeah.
It's a train rhythm.
Yes.
Perfect. Guys, and by the way, that picture we always see of the party man with the bass. Was there ever a mic on that bass? Was there no microphone? Right? Could you ever hear the bass in these bands? On the T-chest bass? No, not for now. I was saying when, like the party men and all the skiffle groups, could you hear the bass?
We never had bass. We never had a microphone.
So the guy would be standing there all the time trying to play it and nobody could hear it?
Well, maybe sometimes. You know, I mean, let's face it, the Beatles never even had monitors.
Right.
So that's way back, you know.
I love it. So that's what a rock group was in 1958.
On the corner, on the street corners.
And that was it too, and with a hat out.
Yeah. I never read any money, but...
Guys, thank you so much. Thanks for the T-chest bass. Thanks for the washboard. Spectacular. We talk about like the legends that were coming, you know, from America. Paul Anka, Guy Mitchell, you know, Johnny Ray. Tell me, what was there about Johnny Ray? I've seen like just old pictures of him like sitting on a stool and sort of crooning. Who is Johnny Ray to you?
Johnny Ray was, to me, was the first person of girls scream.
Interesting.
And funny enough, the last time I was talking to Ringo, he was telling me that he was a big fan of Johnny Ray. And he went to see him at the Empire Theatre in Liverpool. And he sort of like, afterwards he found out where he was staying. He was staying at the Adelphi Hotel. And Ringo said he saw him in a restaurant and he thought, he's normal, he's like a regular person, you know. And he said that funny enough helped him keep his feet.
Good point. This famous guy, the girls are screaming, I could just have a dinner. All right, give us a little Johnny Ray so they know what we're talking about.
Just walking in the rain, it's over when thought you in my heart. walking in the rain. Torturing my heart. Knowing someday, walking in the rain.
That was like the power pop ballad of the summer.
Well, he put a lot more into what I just did.
Billy's actually recorded these songs. There's a great CD that he's got out. We signed him afterwards?
Yep.
What did we have? Raw Influence. Raw Influence.
Raw Influence.
Nicely done. Because we get through all these ballads and Johnny Ray singing, Cry, and then rock and roll. I've heard Van Morrison, everybody talk about Radio Luxembourg.
Radio Luxembourg was on the Sunday night, and if you're lucky, you first at least sit and listen to it. That was when I first heard people like Buddy Holly, had some Little Richard, Jerry was.
And it wasn't on the BBC.
It wasn't on so, the BBC.
The BBC wasn't playing Jerry Lee Lewis, Eddie Cochran, Elvis. Really?
No, they weren't.
Sometimes I just give up. You know what? How could you miss that? How could you miss that?
I don't know. They were just, I don't know. They had to know it's up there.
Yes, they had to know. But you guys, John, always talk about seeing Elvis. Everybody, that's what lights the rock and roll fuse, right?
Well, actually, what happened with me was, I had a neighbor who was grateful. And I lived, my back gate was as far as York, and his Bill brought him home a record. I went in the house, and he played it for me. I went, wow.
What record was it?
Well, let me see if I remember. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, rocking all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, rocking all the time. You ain't ever called a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine. But they said you was high class, that's just a lie. But they said you was high class, that was just a lie. You ain't ever caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine.
That doesn't stop. That's not a bad first record to hear and go, hello. Listen up.
Well, come on over, baby, a whole lot of shaking going on. I said, come on over, baby, you can't go wrong. We got a whole lot of shaking going on. Everybody, come on now. I said, shake, baby, shake, come on. Shake, baby, shake. Come on, shake, baby, shake. Oh, shake, baby, shake. Come over, whole lot of shaking going on. See, everybody, shake, they shake, come on. Shake, baby, shake. Come on, shake, baby, shake. Come on, shake, baby, shake. Come on over, whole lot of shaking going on. That's it.
Perfect. So, wait, you know what I just thought of? You said, come on, you said just now, come on, everybody. Eddie Cochran?
Here comes that girl again. Well, in a deal since I don't know when. She don't notice me or when I pass. She goes with all the guys from out of my class. That don't stop me from thinking to myself. She sure darn looking, man. She's something else. Come on. Oh, look at you. What's all this? Never thought I'd do this before, but here I am knocking on her door. A car's out front, it's all mine. A brand new convertible 59. I got that girl, and I'm thinking to myself, she sure fine looking, man.
dynamic, it's alive. It really, the difference. I mean, those other songs are beautiful. I mean, just now when you think about it, just in a couple of years, what, a year, 2 years to go from How Much Is That Doggy in the Window to what you just sang?
Yeah.
That's a different planet. You know, right? I mean, that's a whole different world that just hit the radio.
Like, all my love, all my kisses, you don't know what you've been missing, oh boy. When you're with me, oh boy, the world can see that you were in for me. All my life, I've been waiting, so now there'll be no hesitation, oh boy. When you're with me, oh boy, the world can see that you were in for me.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Buddy Holly. You know, when John sang Starting Over, you ever listen to the demo of it? When he starts and he's doing his Elvis, and he starts off, he said, "This is for Elvis," you know, and Buddy, you know, goes through the list, and this was his. Thank you guys for all this music.
And then there's this guy. Well, Bebop-a-lula, she's my baby. Bebop-a-lula, don't leave, baby. Bebop-a-lula, she's my baby. Bebop-a-lula, don't leave, baby. Bebop-a-lula, she's my baby, my baby. She's the girl in the red blue jeans. She's the queen of all the teams. She's the woman that I know. She's the woman that loves me so. Say, Bebop-a-lula, she's my baby. Bebop-a-lula, don't leave, baby. Bebop-a-lula, she's
Nice. That's Gene Vincent, who toured England with Eddie Cochran.
Yeah, and I had the pleasure of, I had met Gene when I was doing the start of in Hamburg.
Really? What was he like?
He was, he liked to drink and so did I. We had a good time, he was great.
Because Eddie Cochran died young. Remember, he was his girlfriend driving him to the airport, I think, driving him to Heathrow. Went up the road, one of the first stars, you know, that.
The story is actually that the promoter, typical, didn't rent a car from, that was the last night of this tour, and some fans offered him a ride to the airport, and the car was on the car, and they had huge bill.
Or
Sarah lost to rock and roll.
exactly.
I think he was the first punk rocker.
Really?
That's my opinion.
Eddie Cochran.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. You know, there's a guy, so we hit Buddy, we hit Eddie Cochran, Jerry Lee Lewis, we did a little Elvis. Who's Marty Watt? That's a name I don't know.
Yeah. The night is black, rain falling down. Look for my baby, she's nowhere around. I traced the footsteps down to the shore. Where she's gone, forevermore. Well, I looked at the sea, and it seemed to say, come join my baby and you. I hear a voice crying in the deep. Come join my baby in my endless. Why do we quarrel? Why do we fight? Why did I leave you alone that night?
It sounds, there's a rhythm to it. So, Marty, why, was he English or American?
And Marty was an English guy. He he did a lot of cover versions. He did things like Teenage in Love and what else? He did Donna.
Yeah, oh Donna, Richie Valens.
He did another thing called All the People on the Street Say I'm Bad Boy.
Yeah. Because for me, what I always knew is like the sort of the British Elvis, because of the sort of sappy movies, was Cliff Richard. Cliff Richard in the Shadows, and Sir Cliff Richard, one of the nicest, most elegant people I've ever had the pleasure to meet. He did breakfast with the Beatles with me a couple of years ago. He was spectacular and talked about how much he loved the Beatles and thought like what he did was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Give us some Cliff, play some Cliff Richard for us.
Play Cliff?
Yeah, Cliff.
Come on, pretty baby, let's move on. Oh, shake, well, the rhythm that gets into your heart and soul. Let me tell you, baby, it's called rock and roll. Well, say it's on and I've been on it, they please it. Well, they just better than the little thing and on and on. Because the music is just right along. Oh, honey.
He said to me he wanted to work, this is what he wanted to play. And the manager and everybody pushed him to sort of be more Pat Boone. Don't be Eddie Cochran, be Pat Boone. So they've got big hits like We're Going On, a song going on a summer holiday. And you know, like with the cleaned up version of Magical Mystery Tour, when he gets to Ed Sullivan, and he said, Sullivan tells me, I want that, you know, English music hall stuff. He knows I'm a rocker. And then Sullivan says, I want the English music hall stuff. And as he said, it's Ed Sullivan, it's America. You know, I'm 20-something, I'm not the guy who's going to tell him to sod off. So I'm doing, you know, old school music hall, and that's where I got pigeonholed, and I never got a chance to sort of rock.
I think back then, Ken, you know, a lot of people were trying to people in important positions, trying to address things like that. You know?
Right.
I think, you know, to me, you know, having a press conference was a scary thing because I always thought they were there to destroy you. And I think the thing is with the Beatles, I think when they landed here and that comment about turning left at Greenland, I think all the people that went out there, you know, were going to hate them, fell in love with them instantly. I think the American public took to them because of their humor and they were just ordinary guys and nice guys.
Well,
That was it.
the one thing we saw them fooling around with each other the way we would fool around with our friends. And you just never saw anybody on TV being in the documentary 8 Days a Week that Ron Howard did, the comedian Eddie Izzard said they were cheeky. We never saw anybody like talk back to the press before like that, like Greenland, or what do you call that haircut? You know, nobody ever said that before, really. Back in the day. I mean, think of Elvis Presley. Every interview we ever, well, sir, I'm looking forward to making an album, and sure hope you like it. And he was very respectful, and he was taught to be respectful. Yes, ma'am. Certainly hoping. And you would never say something like, you know, I don't like that your hat, I don't like your tie. You know, you would never come back to the press.
No.
And he, like you said, it changed everything.
I mean, to me, that was the changing point.
Right, once they get to that.
Once the guys came along, I like that.
There's a friend of Billy's, or somebody he talks about all the time, that, you know, it's amazing how much he makes his way through your story, and he's in the rock movie, That'll Be the Day, Billy Fury.
Yes.
Tell me about Billy Fury.
Well, Billy Fury was funny enough was from Liverpool, and I thought that he was, to me, a true rock star. I went to see him at the Empire, and you know, I always say when people stop traffic, you know,
Yeah.
I remember sort of doing the Enemy Ballers concert, and he walked into the room, and Cliff Richard was there, and the Beatles, and the Stones, and Dave Clark, and It was like everybody was stopped.
Really?
He just started, you know, I mean, when people say, what is a star? And it's very hard. It's like, he was just very charismatic. You know.
But it's one thing to say he's charismatic, it's another thing for you to tell us that the Beatles and Cliff Richard are in this room at a royal performance and he stops the room and they all stop.
Yeah.
That's some power, that's some star power.
Well, I think he had that Jimmy Dean thing as well going forward.
Is that what he looked like?
I think so, I don't know. But attitude.
Right, and attitude. All right, give us a Billy Fury. Give us a Billy Fury song.
Oh yes, you were telling me about it. I want to be your lover, but your friend is all I'll say. You leave me halfway to paradise, so near, yes, far away. I long for you to kiss my lips, and that's where they're gonna stay. You leave me halfway to paradise, so
It's a beautiful song.
300 and something weeks. It was,
Really?
yeah, that was Billy Fury. The amazing thing is, Larry Holmes, who managed Billy Fury, turned down the Beatles. He auditioned and he said, you have to get rid of so-and-so and so-and-so.
Well, that was a little bit of a mistake.
Yeah, sure.
Larry Hunts and Dick Rowe should have written the book together. Like, the two dumbest managers ever in history of England. Hey, there's something that Billy and I put together. An artist that you talked about, Emile Ford.
Emile Ford, yes.
Anybody ever heard this name at all? No, a few maybe.
We got a little clip up there.
So there's a song, Billy. What do you want to make those eyes at me for?
Yeah.
That was the song. What year is this? What year?
And it'd be the late 50s, you know, when it was an oldie, I believe it or not, that had been redone. And when I was on tour in England, I did this song with Adam.
Yeah, Adam Roth, a dear friend who's passed, who's an amazing guitarist, and a good friend and confidant of ours. I want to show you a little clip of these guys doing it. If we could roll that. Hopefully. There we go.
You're on the air.
They make me glad, they make me want a lot of things that I've never had. You're fooling around with me now, and you leave me on and you run away. Well, that's alright, I'll get you along tonight, and baby you'll find, when that's without nobody wanna make those eyes let me fall. If they don't mean what they say, if they don't mean what they say I need to do, and I will do
Awesome. That's Adam Roth. Adam was spectacular, funny, and a great musician and fun to be with. If you don't mind me sharing a story that I've shared with a million young musicians of how to conduct yourself as a musician. Billy and Adam and the guys did this big tour of the UK a couple of years back, all the way like Wales down to Southend. And you know, you play different sized theaters and you know, different venues, and some of them are good, and some of them maybe not so good. And sometimes there's a great audience, and sometimes there's not much of an audience. and sometimes the food is crap. Most of the time the food's crap.
Yeah, all of the time.
And you know, you're just getting by. And Billy, if you don't mind, Billy told me a story. They were on the bus, and Billy would always ask the band after the show when they got on the bus, what do you think? And it was a bad night, and nobody really said anything. Do you remember what you told me Adam said?
I said, what do you think, Adam? And he went, I could be back in New York washing dishes. That was his answer.
Talk about putting it in perspective. Rather than bitching and moaning about what we didn't have.
Yeah. I'm missing you.
Adam, we love you. We miss you. He was one of those guys who was fun, enjoyed so much. That's the guy you want to travel with. And to sing and play. So there's this guy, this is the anniversary, there's just been a re-release of the concert for George Harrison. It's out DVD, doing screenings, it's been remastered, Olivia did a great job with it. And there's an artist on it that most people don't know by the name of Joe Brown. So a few people know it, and even I was like, I know the name, but I don't have a reference point for it. Where does it come in? Billy, talk about Joe Brown.
Joe Brown was, in England, you had Shindig here all over that.
Yeah.
In England, it was Old Boy, and you know, people like Cliff, Marty Boyle were on these shows. And the producer asked Joe Brown. I'd seen Joe Brown for he was like a sideman, guitar player, back in Billy Fury and Marty Boyle and people like that. And they asked him to sing a song, and he was this very, you know, he had like bleach blonde hair, spiky, you know, he was at the company. And it went over very big, and Joe started getting a lot of attention, and he became a big star. And actually what happened, Brian Epstein was trying to get the Beatles to a bigger audience, and he booked Joe to play at the New Brighton Tower Ballroom, which held like 6,000 to 8,000 people. And at the time, Joe was on tour, and his record, just a week before we did the New Brighton Tower, his record Picture Review went to #1. And obviously it drew a big crowd, and the Beatles got to play in front of a lot of people.
Great, Tommy. Give us a Joe Brown song.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Oh.
What can you have? In the night, there are sights to be seen. With you in my heart and my dreams. But the only sight I have of you is that wonderful picture in a streetcar roaring. That was it. That was so right. And actually, you know, Joe was did this song before anybody.
You may know another version of it.
Henry the Eighth, I am. Henry the Eighth, I am. I'm not married to the widow next door. She marries every time before. Yeah, everyone was an Henry. Henry! He didn't have a Willie or a Sam.
No, Sam.
I'm a right old man named Henry. Henry the Eighth, I am.
So also,
And he taught George Harrison to play uke, because
really,
yeah, I read the story recently where Joe was at home and the phone rings and this voice says, you know, do you ever remember doing New Brighton Tower with a group called the Beatles? Well, I'm George Harrison and I've moved in next door to you.
can you imagine getting that phone call?
And they became really big friends. They played guitars together over the years. And actually, you know, Joe's wife passed, but he married some years later. And George was his best man. And Joe's still out there today doing shows.
George didn't just like the ukulele. He fell in love with it. Tom Petty always said George always traveled with 2 ukuleles, so you would have one to play with him. He said, I'm walking around the backyard and I feel like my wrist is going to fall off. because it's 3 hours in and he's still pulling out uke songs, going, try this one. Like, I'm dying.
Well, that's why I never bought mine.
He said, Tom Petty says, George Harrison came by once. Yeah, what's up? Hey, I just want to leave these here. It was before they did Traveling Wilburys, and he dropped off 5 ukuleles. And he said, George, how many ukuleles? He goes, well, not everybody carries a ukulele. And it's like, and he goes, now I'm thinking this whole album on. He goes, as crazy as this combination is, I can't see me, him, Bob Dylan, Roy Orbison, and Jeff Lynne standing around a mic with 5 ukuleles, because that's not going to get it done.
He had a trumpet score before.
Always, right?
Yeah.
Always. He loved it. So he's on the concert for George. I'm hoping this gave a flavor, an idea of what all the music was that leads up to the rhythm that makes the Beatles. A story that Billy told me that stayed with me my whole life from the first time we met. The first time you saw them, what, Litherton Town Hall?
Litherton Town Hall.
Right. I mean, it seems if you have to go to Liverpool, if you've never gone, go, go, go. See the sights for yourself. And, you know, you can go to London and see, you know, Abbey Road and all that, but when you see the cabins, when you see all the things that are there, it's alive, and Aintree is still there. And you were with your mates. Tell that story of what you thought.
I used to go to Litherton Town Hall. And people used to stand around the perimeter of the dance hall and not really pay a lot of attention to the bands. And, I used to go there. Obviously, we young guys were trying to hit on girls, you know. And so this Thursday night, Ken was on, and Paul McCartney burst into Long Tall Sally, and I just, to me, that was it. I knew they were going to be the biggest thing ever. You know, I didn't need anybody's help. I remember walking home and saying to my friends, they're going to be bigger than Elvis, you know. And they went, you're crazy, you've been drinking too much. And, but to me, I always, people say, what was I said, it was like this is came from another planet. You know, so they impacted me and they changed the world, they changed my life, and a lot of our lives.
Everybody, in this past year, I've learned so much from other musicians about their take on the Beatles. 2 quick stories to echo what Billy said. You know, every local town, every city had their own sort of teen band, like we do Battle of the Bands on Sunday nights. Weekends was always a battle of the teenage bands. And in Manchester, Graham Nash from the Hollies, Crosby, Stills and Nash, he and his high school mate Alan Clark doing Battles of Bands. And a band actually came from Liverpool to Manchester called Johnny and the Moondogs. And he said they were the greatest thing we'd ever seen, and we lost. We didn't just lose to another school, we lost to a band in Liverpool. And the next day you go to school, Monday, you go, how could you lose to guys from Liverpool? He goes, you embarrassed the whole city. You know, it's like the football club losing. You know, it's like you embarrassed all of us.
Well, there's a big rivalry between Liverpool and Manchester.
Right. And he said, no one, when I saw the Beatles, and I saw John Lennon, and I went, that's Johnny and the Moondogs. I lost to the Beatles. Now I don't feel so bad. They exploded on the scene. There's a song that was a big part of, it was a very naughty song for teenagers to sing. They sang it at the church fete. The choirmen would sing it wherever they would, and even at the end, as the Beatles aren't getting along at all, and they're just wishing it to end, and there's lawsuits, and we're on the album, Let It Be. Even still, when we don't know what to play, because we can't even look at each other, somebody breaks into this one song, and everybody else joins in immediately. It's a very, very risque song. To wrap this up, Billy, if you would be so kind
Sure.
as to play us a little bit of the story of Maggie May.
I was laid off at the road in the port of Liverpool. 19 playing the way, that was my pay. With a pocket full of tin, I was very soon taken in by that dirty, rough and no good Maggie May. have taken her away, and she'll never walk down life's street anymore. Oh, the judge, he guilty found her, but robbing her home what found her. She'll never walk down life's street anymore. Everybody, oh, Dirty Maggie May, they have taken her away, and she'll never walk down life's street anymore. Oh, the judge, he guilty found her, but robbing her home what found her. She'll never walk down life's street anymore. Everybody, come on! Oh, Dirty Maggie May, they have taken her away, and she'll never walk down life's street anymore. Oh, the judge, he guilty found her, but robbing her home what found her. That dirty, rubbing, no good Maggie May.
Billy J. Kramer, the music before the Beatles. A CD of a lot of these songs called Rock Influences. Billy, good to be outside. Say hi to the folks.
Sure, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much for the journey. Billy J. Kramer. Larry, thank you so much. We got more music coming your way. Weeklings are coming up.